Hey everyone, before the video gets started, I just want to say this is my first voice reveal, and it is my first long form video. So, if you do enjoy, please give it a like, and maybe comment. Alright, back to the video. The Oculus Quest 2. A leading pioneer in personal virtual reality, especially without needing a PC to run it. Most VR headsets at the time required a good PC in order to run games, as well as multiple sensors that would be placed around the room in order to track well, but this was different. The Oculus allowed for easy-to-use home VR without the hassle of wires or outside hardware. It was originally released in September of 2020 for the not-so-cheap price of $299, but had everything you needed to dip your toes into the virtual reality realm, just like its predecessor. Recently though, the price has been increased to $399 due to high resource demand and inflation, but still holds true to its original release. The Oculus Quest 2, without the optional Elite strap, comes in the box with a headset, 2 charged wires, controllers, an optional silicone face cover, and charging cables. It's pretty self-explanatory, and is very user-friendly when you first start out, considering this is probably the person's first experience with actual VR. The headset comes with a Snapdragon XR2 processor, allowing for it to run even heavy games with ease, which is a considerable upgrade compared to the original Oculus. It also has a clean 1832 by 1920 resolution per lens, as well as supporting up to 90 frames per second and 120Hz refresh rate, allowing for generally clear and quick gameplay. I've personally had zero issues with FPS drops, which is nice, especially in quick reaction gameplay or intense first-person shooters. It also comes with a standard 128GB of storage, which is well more than you'll ever need. Most games only really require a few gigs of storage, which leave plenty left for whatever you need. Now on the headset itself, there are a few additional things to note, one being the built-in speakers intended for spatial audio. Now these aren't quite obvious when you first try it on, since they're actually hidden inside the strap frame themselves, but they sound really good, especially when I first heard them. It came as a surprise to me that external speakers could sound so clear, especially on these. As for the head strap itself, it's not the best for fast-moving games, but it does its job at holding the headset. Some may prefer getting the Elite strap, but it's not necessary for core gameplay. Some other features include the external power and volume buttons, as well as a light indicator for when you're charging, which is useful because you'll be doing that a lot. Speaking of charging, let's talk about battery life. Due to the lack of external wiring, the headset will usually last only around 2 to 3 hours from a full charge before needing to be charged back up again. Charging a headset back to full charge will also take about 2 hours, which can be frustrating, especially if you're gaming for long periods of time, since there's no other alternatives other than buying the battery pack Elite strap for an extra $100. For me personally, I don't play more than 3 hours in a singular session, which is convenient because it allows for it to charge back up as I take a break before another round of Beat Saber or Resident Evil. On the note of games, why don't we talk about the variety we have, as well as some of the pros and cons for playing on the Quest 2. When it comes to games for the Quest, you really get a taste of everything. If you want horror, there's horror. If you want to socialize, there's tons of games to do that. If you just want to see the limits of VR, then you can find games for that too. Really, your imagination is the limit, but I'll cover a few good games that I've played that you should consider getting if you just started VR. To start out, we'll start out with a classic that should be mandatory to get in every VR experience, and that obviously is Beat Saber. Beat Saber is a visual music game where you, like the name suggests, slice to the beat. Use 2 sabers that correspond to different colors in which you slice blocks that can be orientated in any direction. The game has multiple packs of music and difficulties that you can play, allowing for an easy to learn but hard to master technique. There's the option for multiplayer or solo, as well as a more hidden campaign for the avid player, but there's sure enough to keep you occupied. This is probably my #1 game, considering I've beaten almost all expert modes as well as about half of expert plus modes in the time span of owning the game for about 2 months. Overall, this game is a must-get since it complements the Oculus very well. It doesn't give any motion sickness and can be a fun but challenging game that I would recommend to anyone. The next game I want to cover you can actually get in the store for free, and that's Rec Room. Rec Room is a fun multiplayer online game that has a huge integrated game creation system, which allows for people to make and play other people's rooms. This means that you'll find any kind of sub-game that you can imagine within Rec Room, because it's probably been made before. This game is a blast playing with other friends or with other people online, but be warned that a large portion of the demographic is of kids averaging about the age of 12. Now, this may not be suited for everyone, but if you like exploring in a more social manner, then this game will be right for you. The final game I'll be covering is Resident Evil 4. This game is a ported version of the original 2005 version, but it still holds up for what it is. The mechanics feel nice, especially the manual reloading, and gameplay doesn't stall that much as you explore the game. Some of the visuals may lack some, considering its models and textures from 2005, but it really doesn't take away the intuitive fun that this game has to offer. If you really enjoy horror or action shooters, then this is the game for you. There's a considerable amount of gameplay, as well as surprises that I'm sure will keep you on your toes and anxious to play more. So, is this all worth the $399 price tag? Well, let's quickly summarize the pros and cons. Some pros of this headset is that it's all-in-one, so there's no need to own a good PC to run games. It's very intuitive to understand and start out, especially to novice VR players. Its controllers are responsive and quite ergonomic to use. There's many options and customizations within the headset to include mixed reality and all sorts of personalization, as well as the fact that you can have a wide variety of games to choose from. I'm sure you'll find something you like. Now, looking at some of the cons, you have the short battery life of about 3 hours, as well as the subpar head strap. Even though these can be countered with extra hardware, it can become annoying to the average player. However, I don't think that these affect the overall quality of easy-to-use immersive home VR. Overall, I have to conclude that yes, the Oculus Quest 2 is worth the price when compared to other competitor VR companies. It may seem a bit pricey at first, but the variety of games, all-in-one compatibility, and the advanced hardware makes it worth it. It caters to the needs of novice and experienced players alike, and overall is a really solid VR headset. Hey guys, since you made it to the end of this video, maybe consider subscribing, since this is the first time I've made a video like this. If you guys like this form of content, then give this a like and suggest what I should do next. Alright, see you next time.